Hey everyone, and welcome back to another tutorial. This video is awesome because in this one you're going to learn React, testing with Cypress, and also Cucumber, which is an amazing tool to write user stories. Even QAs can do this. So this really bridges the gap between the developers and the QAs because the source of truth for writing those tests becomes Cucumber. So watch the video till the end because you're going to learn a lot of things: how to work with React, how to work with APIs, how to write end-to-end tests, and also how to integrate Cucumber. But before we move forward, make sure to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out any future notifications. With that said, let's get started. We're going to implement a React application real quick, not too big, something really small, and then we are going to start testing it. And we are also going to test it in a couple of scenarios. Should we create an app with white, or should we create an app with create React app? Let's try white this time. So we are going to start with React with TypeScript. Since I have to prototype, I won't go for that. Can I do it via npm? Yeah, here. Scaffolding your first white project, Node.js here, and then we can do that. So we do npm, let's do that. We're going to create a new project using white. Let's see, cd work, no, desktop, then cd work, ls, tutorials, and then we go with npm init white latest. So we're going to create a project from scratch for React. Project name white project. Let's call it React, and we can also probably say Cucumber. So we are going to say React, and then here we go. So now that we have got this, we can quickly go and do code React, and then we can open this into terminal. I can close this window now, don't need it anymore. And then we are going to start with the development for this one. So let's do an npm I, and then we are going to do app.jsx. Let's see what we have here. So we have a couple of things here. Now, what do we want to build? So we want to do some testing in our code. I was looking at some of the examples of Tailwind CSS. I'm not really sure if I have that opened anymore, where we had some templates. So we have SAS Bolt, Tailwind CSS software language, okay. Can we have some sort of authentication somewhere? So we got nav bars, blog, marketing UI, pricing table, portfolio, videos, call to action, about brands, areas, file upload, form style. Some of the things that they are sharing, it's free, and some of the things that we are sharing is not free. I think this is the one maybe I was testing out. All right, get started, GitHub star. Let's see, CSS component, JavaScript component, HTML, Angular, React, landing page, admin template. I mean, I don't want a lot of code, but maybe just a bit of code. So let's see. Let's first run the application. So npm run dev. Now our dependencies should have been installed. If I go to localhost 3000, there we go. We got count, and then you see it here, right? Now let's say if we had a couple of elements here where we would have, so we are going to implement the Tailwind CSS. So we are going to install with this. So first of all, I'm going to introduce a new window. We do npm install -d Tailwind CSS, which installs the package for us. After that, we do npx Tailwind CSS init. So once this is installed, we run Tailwind CSS init. This creates a Tailwind config.js here. Now, in order to purge these files, what we need is to add this content here. Now, do they have React here? Essentially, no, they don't have it here. But essentially, instead of doing this, we just introduce the JSX. So in the content, we say source, and then inside here, element or JSX. I think JSX is enough. We don't really have TSX or MDX, but I'm going to just paste it there. All right. Now that we have this, we just need to import the CSS into our app CSS. So I'm going to do that up top. Then we have this. We don't really need to do that. Start using your HTML. Yeah, I think that's fine. I'm going to also search if they have a particular thing for React. For the create React app, what they do is Tailwind NSP. Yeah, we also need to install all of this as well then. Let's do that. I'm going to remove the Tailwind config just for the sake of the kicks. npx Tailwind CSS init p. And then also it added the post CSS config file here as well. Now we need to update our files accordingly from here. So Tailwind config content, and here we say source, and inside that JS, JSX, TS, TSX. That's pretty much it. Then we add this to index CSS. We already did that. We added this to app CSS. finally, we just need to run the application itself. So we are going to say npm run, or actually we are running the dev folder already. I'm going to close this, run it again. And I really like how in 509 milliseconds, the whole application runs. So I'm going to quickly see where's the application. Here's my app. So now we can start coding the self. All right. So we're quickly going to go and use React Router. So let's go to React Router. The main page, it retrieves some information. Okay. So can we use the GitHub API? GitHub API get projects, something like that. Do we really need something out of it? Quick start, curl. If I just do this, what does it do? It should be HTTPS. So if I do this, it sends us back a message. So now if I do something like this, so we can use Octokit, we can use projects, and then we should be able to get that. So let's install Octokit as well. So we are going to say npm install -- save Octokit. Once this is done, we need to start implementing the router itself. So we are going to add the React router. So we are going to go and say npx create React app router tutorial white. Then we do this. All right. So we are going to install the React router using this command npm install React router DOM6. Right. Let's quickly do that. Then edit your app to be pretty boring, whatever. So we have something here as well. So now instead of doing this, we are going to do browser router React router DOM. We are going to use this. So we have browser router, then we have app, right? So we are going to go to main.jsx, then we go here, and then we use the browser router inside apps, something like this. All right, so we do this, save this. If we refresh the application, is it working still? Yes, it is. Add some links. So we are going to add some links in the nav bar, just like this. So we have this in the app. All right, so we're going to go to our app.js, and inside here we do have this app. What I want to do is to implement some sort of header as well. So let's create a component. We're going to call this header.jsx. Inside here, we are going to import React from React. Then we are going to create the header component, const header equals, and then just create a new header here. Then we do export default header from here. And then from here, we return the JSX. So from here, we are going to return header component, which we will build in this particular format. So first of all, we are assuming that there's going to be a div, there's going to be a class name. Let's say this is flex, and then it has a py of 2, a px of 4. This has a height. So the height would be, let's see, I do want a height of like 70 pixel or 60 pixel, 64 pixel. The height 16 works. It's going to be a background. There's going to be a background of white. So we are going to say bg white, and I think that's it. Now inside here, we are going to have the logo, and then we are going to say, for example, we can say class name, logo. Here we'll just say GitHub or my gh projects, something like this, right? And then inside here, we're going to have some sort of like, let's call it a spacer. So we can say spacer. And I really like VS Code because as you see, if I just do dot spacer in a React code and hit enter, it creates a div with the class name attribute, which is good. It's not HTML, so it's not class, it's class name here. That's really good. So finally, we are going to have some sort of actions here, and those actions are going to be essentially just log out, I think, and that should be it. So here we could say something like, so we could say have a button, class name, we say p4 pg indigo something 6 700, let's say, text white, and here we say something like logout. Similarly, we could have a login as well, but we are keeping it just like this for now. All right, instead of this, we could simply do this, and then what we need to do is just implementing this header above the app. So here what I can do is that I can quickly take this out, or actually in the app itself. So we have the header here. Let's go and check it out. So you see we got something right here. However, I'm skeptical if my CSS is being applied here. Is it? Yeah, it seems like we do have some things here. So we got root, we got app. Some of the styles that I need to give into the application is I do want the HTML and CSS styles. So I'm going to go into index CSS, and I'm going to say HTML body are going to be width 100%, 100%, and then we should have margin 0 and padding 0, right? So let's do that. I'm going to refresh this now. And now we also need to have this app taking up the full or ID and app, both of these taking a full height and full width. So we are going to say this app itself is going to have a height or a min height of 100% and a min width of 100%, or we could also say width 100% because we don't want scrolls there, but we can have a scroll on the vertical side, so we are not worried about that. Now the root itself should also have the width 100, height 100. So let's refresh this now. All right, now let's see. So this app is complete, but this flex has this, then we have this, then we have this spacer. This spacer should essentially be a flex1 instead. So we don't need the spacer class, but we can rather use the flex1 class here. So flex, what? Sorry about that. So we got this here. Now this button essentially has a lot of things here. So I'm gonna go and actually go to Tailwind and kind of pick their button, for example. Yeah, this is the button maybe that I want. I'm gonna copy this guy, quickly go here and paste it right here. Alrighty, so what we are going to do is we're going to take this header and also it's a BG black, right? Or gray. Let's go with gray. BG gray, and then let's take 800 here, text white, right? And then we also do align items, or actually items center. So we get centered here. Now it looks good. Okay, this application should initially show a login modal. So we are going to have first, so let's implement some routes according to React router. So it said, hey, these are some links, blah blah blah. We don't really need those links for some, at least for now. But then we have these components like expenses, invoices, and then in the main JSX we do some magic here. All right, so what they have done is that they have, oh okay, interesting. We can take the app into its own, but we can move the header outside of it. So instead of using it in the, so it stays in every place. I'm just going to double check if this still works. No, it doesn't. Why does it not work? Because the header is not defined. I need to import this. Import header from, and then we do header, right? So once we do this, we should be good. Yes. Now we go to app.js and save this file. So we have only one header. Good, good, good. I'm going to remove this, remove that, remove this, this. All right. Now we gotta have a component called login.jsx, import react from, then we do const login, and now we have export default login, and here we do a return of a couple of things. So here we do a div. All right, what do we want here? We want a flex here. First of all, class name, flex, flex row, no, flex column, justify, center, align, or items, center. All right, then what we want is sort of a dialog inside here. So we are going to say, we're going to have a flex here. Then we are going to have BG gray. So we got flex column, this BG gray, and then let's say inside here, we have a couple of like header login. So that would have like a text Excel that say login. So there would be one div here. Then we are going to have a form here, and then we are going to have a footer here. So we are going to have, let's say, a flex here, flex items centered, and here we would have like two things. We are going to have a button that says logout or confirm or cancel. So we're going to actually have two things here. This one is going to say cancel. This one should be having let's say a BG wide. No need to give this a text wide, but this guy is gonna say login. Alrighty, looks good so far. So I'm gonna actually do this login. Let's implement the routes now. So we're gonna go and copy this big chunk, and we got routes and route from React Router DOM. Okay, so we go to main JSX, we got React Router DOM here. In here, we are going to paste this guy here. We have browser router, going to remove this. We do have a routes. So instead of app, we are saying routes. And then we also have expenses and invoices, right? So that means I'm going to quickly go and here we are going to import login, the login component, right? So let's save this, try this out. So we are going to go here, refresh, route is not defined. Of course it's not, because I've not imported it. So here we should have routes and route. And now we go. So here you see we have the app here, but if I go to login, we see the login component. As you can see here, it looks super ugly. So we're going to quickly fix that. We're going to have this width full and height just like this. You see everything is in center now. Although this shouldn't be width full and height full because now we have a scroll here, which is a bit weird. So we shouldn't probably have that. But what we should have is, this is a header and then we have the rest of the element, right? So that definitely means that inside the main JSX, we should have two things. One, this header, and second, this element. So what we should do is have some sort of flex container here, flex column, right? Then we have this header here, and then here we have content and flex one, and inside there we have this routes. This is just to make sure that we have a flex behavior. So if I do this, let's see what happens. So now you see we got this flex column, this root, this should have min height. So now it should have like a full width and height, and now this is the header, and then we have the content. Although now this one has login, and if I want to have the login inside, and if I do height full here, then that would only take the space for this hole. So now it should be centered then. And instead of this login, I just go here and say flex one instead of height full. Does that justify it? Yeah, I think it does. So now we should have this whole element. So we have header and the rest of the space is taken by the element itself. So now it's centered, but not the center of the screen, but only the center of this particular area, like this wide screen, which is actually what we wanted. Anyways, so now that we have got this, I'm going to go to Tailwind CSS. I think they did have something on their homepage. So I'm going to quickly go and check it out. It was, I think, maybe the forms. We do have forms, so form layouts, input groups, select menus, and sign in registration. So here we should have the code. So I'm going to quickly copy the code here without any shame and going to paste it inside the login page. Actually, let me have a look at this. Sign into your account, blah, 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 sign in. Forgot your password, email address, blah, blah, blah. Start your free trial. Ta-ta-ta. Okay. All right. So I'm going to quickly go and implement this login page, which is inside here. So I'm going to go and paste this. Will it fix it? Yay, let's go. Sign into your account or start your free trial. Start. I don't want this, so I'm going to remove this. It's refresh now. All right. So we removed these ones. We got forgot password. Remember me, forgot password, blah, blah, blah. So I think what we can do is once we click sign in, we need to submit this and then check it out. Now what we need to do is just implementing the login. So someone can log in and then go to the index page. So let's quickly do that. We are not checking about any, or are we handling any errors? No, we are not handling any errors so far. Do we need to React? I'm pretty sure there is a React hook form validation. Yes. So I'm going to use this now for form validations. Get started. So we are going to use the React hook form for form validations really quick. So we are going to say npm install React hook form. Then we have to implement these things. So we are going to use this. We are using the use form hook in this case. So we are going to use use form. I'm going to also put the semicolon here so everything looks good. Then we are going to do this. So we are going to create a state for this one. So we have register, handle submit, watch, form state, errors, and use form. And then we have on submit that we just console log the data. So on the form submit, we say handle submit, form submit. So in here, we're going to remove the action, the method post, and then use the on submit here, handle submit, on submit. When we submit the form, it will call this particular function and just log the data. That's what we want. Then we have the input, we have the default value test, and then this is the code which registers the form itself. So we are going to go ahead and register first our email address. So this one is going to be email. This is the name of the property for this form. And then we also have one for password. So we are going to go and allow this. Did I put it in the label? It should be on the input itself. Register email. And then on the input, the other input, we have register password. And also we need to have this as required as well. So for the second parameter, we can pass the required value just like this. So I'm going to copy this one, go to password, require it, go to email and require it. And this should be good. Now we have the values for errors. So we can say this email address just below the input. We are going to have this. And then we have some sort of a class name here, which has text, sm, text red, let's say use 700. And I think that should be good. It should also have a margin top of 2, for example, or it could have a margin y of 2 instead, right? And this is shown when we have errors dot email required, because the name of the registration is email. Similarly, we are going to go just below the input here, and then this should be password required. And then here we can say this field is required. What else do we have? Nothing. Finally, the button itself, for signing in, this button, it should be of type submit, which is good. Do we need anything else this one? No, we don't. Awesome. So I'm going to save this, quickly go and check it out. So our server is down, looks like. Yeah, because we were installing the package. Let's run it. I really like how quickly it does something. So I'm going to remove this password. What if I submit? So this form probably needs another attribute called no validate. So I'm going to put that. And now if I hit submit, we still don't show that. Why don't we show that? Can we have a log of errors.email required here? I just want to see what this shows. So just below this email, it doesn't have that error. But if I sign in now, I still don't see that error at all. Can we also see errors somewhere? Let's console log them. Console.log errors. We do that. If we quickly go and we say sign in, we don't have anything there. If I remove this thing from here, we get the email here. So it's not email, it's errors.email. And that's why. So instead of this, we need to say email. This errors.email, errors.password. So if I now refresh, this should be working. So if I say this, and if I submit, there we go. We got the error finally that we were looking at. All right, so this is not taking the margins top and bottom, I believe, although it should have. Probably because this is a span. So we need to make this a block before it can take some margins. So take the div from here, we take the div from here. Let's see. So in this case, we got email, we got also password. We changed this to div, we need to change this to div. And now we should have some spacing. The margin top can be 2, but margin bottom can be a bit more, maybe 4, something like this. What, BD? It should be MB. Margin bottom equals to 4. So this would be that, right? So we have some spacing here. Cool. And now if we start doing that, that's good. What if we don't press this? Will it still watch it, right? Will it still watch the values? So if I do this and it sign in, still there are errors. And if I put example.com, this, and hit submit, we do get the values. Okay, so I think we are good. So we have some information here. We should have the forgot password page. We could quickly create it without having much hassle. So we are not going to implement anything from the forgot password, but we are just going to implement forgot password.jsx here. So we got this here. We're going to use the same sort of layout. So here we can say forgot password, and we're going to quickly go ahead and say this. Then we're going to add another URL just like this here. So we're going to add forgot password, and here we can say forgot password, right? And this is wrong, so forgot password. So if we go to forgot password, we see sort of a similar page, but it's a different URL. So I'm going to now fix it. We are not going to have this header per se, so I'm going to remove that. Or did it also contain? Yeah, this is. So we are going to keep this one, forgot password. We are going to remove this particular image. What else? This doesn't need a margin top per se. I like how fast it is. I mean, super fast. Even before me switching, like it's super fast. So if I hit enter and quickly recover, let's see. You see, even before I jump back, it's changed. It's so fast. I like it. That's super cool. All right, so I'm gonna actually remove this. Forgot password. There should be only one email. There shouldn't be any password input. I'm gonna remove that from here. Then we are going to say, instead of, yeah, we don't need this remember me or forgot password per se. I'm going to remove that. Here it should be calling, it should say submit. So you see submit here. We should not have this sort of lock icon. So it should be just say submit, and then we should have email. Okay, so I think we are good. So we only register the email, and then we just log the data when we have that. If we don't do this, we should still have this message. That's good. I'm going to remove the lock icon from here, close this. And now let's talk about the app itself. But we are also thinking of Octokit, right? So let's actually use Octokit where we fetch some data from the list. And also if we go to app CSS and we see that we are not logged in, it just moves us to, should we be using some sort of state management here? Maybe we can use Zustand. Let's see. So we can use Zustand for state management here. So we're going to install Zustand. I'm not using Redux. I used Zustand recently and I found it good. So let's see, create the bare bones of this one. So we are going to create store here. So we are going to say store here. And inside we are going to have index.js. So we are going to say create Zustand, use stores. Let's see. So here we are going to say is logged in. That will be false by default. Here we are going to say login. We are going to change the state from is logged in from false to true, right? And then we are going to say log out. Here we are going to say is logged in to false. Here we can just say is login true, right? And this set method, I believe the set method only updates it, merges the state. Exactly. So we need to not override the entire state, but just merge it. All right. Now, no providers needed to do exactly. And now for calling the method, we need to say increase population and then just call it. Yeah, exactly. So now that we have created this state, we can use that inside our app.jsx by doing something like this. So what we need to do is we need to do const is logged in equals use store, and use store is going to be retrieved from Zustand as far as I know. So it should be something like use store. Isn't that the one? Deprecated, please use bound store. Okay. And what does bound store do? Bound store here, then we have a create method here. Oh, sorry, I now know. This use store essentially would come from the store file. This is the use store method. So we can call it use app store. And then we need to do export, or we could just do export const use app store, right? And then we can import that there. So here we can say something like use app store, and then we get the logged in. Now we are going to check if, or we are going to check it first time. So we are going to say use effect, and then we are going to check if we are not logged in, then we redirect to the login page. So we're going to keep this empty now, and then we are going to check if not is logged in, then we just say how do we navigate to the other pages? React router. So we have the link here, but we also should be having some sort of navigate or something. Use params, nah. Connect the URL, add some routes, linking, no match, reading, index route, link, custom behavior, use location, navigating programmatically. Yeah, this is the one I'm looking at. So we have use navigate, and then we use this hook. All right. So it's from React router DOM. All right. So we need to do import from React router DOM, and then here we do use navigate, and then we import this here. We say const navigate equals to use navigate, and then we do navigate, and then here we say login/login, right? So quickly put it here, and now we see. So now if I go ahead and try to go to the home page, you see it navigated us to the home page, or the login page per se, right? Also, I'm going to go ahead and remove the login from there, or we could also have just the logo there. No, we can have the logo here for now. That's fine. All right. So now that we got it, we also need to do some sort of logging in. So when we do log in, we need to pass the email and password. So let's say in the store, we go and update a couple of things here. We could have the credentials, which are null right now. But when we log in, we essentially would provide the email and password. And then we also set the credentials to email password. And then here we also have the credentials set to null. All right. When the user logs out, we set the credentials back to null. So when we have this, then in the app.jsx, or actually in the header, we are going to see the same thing here. So we are going to say const, what do we do here? We say credentials equals use app store. Here we say state.credentials, and const is logged in, app store, blah, blah, blah. All right. Now, if we have the user logged in, which means is logged in, if that's the case, then we show the logout button. All right. As nothing actually. So we need to show the logout button, but also along that, we also need to show another thing, and that is the email itself, right? So what we'll do here is that we'll also add text sm, and here we would have the credentials dot email, and then here we would have something like TextSM, but then margin right of 4. So let's do that. So now if I refresh here, nothing's happening. I'm going to go to my login page. Here we are also going to import the constants. So here we are going to say const login equals use app store state dot login. Is it login or is it login? It's login. So we're gonna go and change that inside header. So quickly go there. No, is it header? No, it's login page. So inside login, we have login. Let's name it that. Then what we need to do is that when we do on submit, we essentially would be doing this. So we are going to say login, data.email, data.password. So when we do this, I think we're good. I'm going to remove watch. I don't know why that is used. When we log in, does it provide us promise or no? Does it return a promise or no? Promise, no. No. Async, no. Async actions. So it does async here. It doesn't actually. It runs sequentially. So when it does, then we can use the navigate as well. What the heck? All right. So we are going to say const navigate equals use navigate. And then we do, after we are logged in, we quickly go and navigate the user to root. Okay. Does that make sense? I hope it does. So now we're going to go to our application. Here, let's say we say Ahsan add example.com, and then I say something like click 1, 2, 3. If I hit sign in, see, we logged the user in, we went to the home page or the app page, and now we see the logout as well. Do we log out? No. Did we get an error? No. All right. So now one more thing that I need to do for the UI is that I need to go to my header, and here we do have a couple of things set, but we don't have this set as a flex. So we are going to say class name flags, and then here flags, or actually items center, and I need to give this a double quote because I want to be consistent with the code. And now you see we got this, right? Cool, super cool. And now we need to implement the logout method. Now the logout method is going to be const logout equals, or it was logout equals use app store state.logout. And then when we click this function, we need to do on click, and then I'm mixing React and Angular right now. So logout, and when that happens, no, it should be something like this, right? Cool. All right. So now if I log out, it goes back to login. I'm gonna quickly try to go there again. Cool, we have a problem there. Now we move there, we do get there. Now we say logout. It hit the item and it took us back to the home page, which it already was at. No? Yeah, so we did log out, but we didn't do anything. So here we should be doing logout, and then we also should be doing a navigate. So here we should say const navigate, use navigate. We need to import this, use navigate, and then we also need to do navigate and login, right? Something like this. So I'm also going to put a semicolon here, refresh, we got login here, we go to login, we log out, we go back to login. Cool. So we got some of the use cases now working. Now the thing is, we have handled the errors, we have handled the logout and login case, but we also need to do some sort of GitHub API usage. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to use the store to get some data. So here I'm going to say projects are empty by default, right? And then we should have something called a fetch projects or get projects. This should be an async call. And then what we should do is we should do await const projects equals, and now we need to use Octokit. So Octokit essentially is something like this. I need to go to say npmjs.com, and here we try to find Octokit REST, GraphQL. Should it be this one? So it's Octokit REST. Ooh, okay. So npm uninstall Octokit, and then we just do this. So we install npm install Octokit /rest. So we're going to use that project, and then we just need to import this and use it. So we go into our code, and I hope this works on the front end. Otherwise, it's not going to be really cool. So this should be something like import from, and then we got this guy here. Now that we got Octokit here, we can quickly do something like this. So this is sort of the thing that we want to do. We don't want this here. So we say something like organization CodeWithAhsan and type public, and then we should get those projects. Once we get the projects, we do set projects, right? Something like that. And then in the app JSX, we should have some sort of code for this data as well. So we can say const projects equal to use app store state.projects, right? And then we have another thing called const, because we need to call this get projects method in the store. Where is it? So we need to call this function so it gets the data and then sets it in this variable. So we say get projects, and then in the use effect, the first time it runs, we need to get that project. So we can say else get projects, and that should be it, right? And then we have projects, so we can loop over those projects here. We can say something like projects, and here we can say, or actually we can say projects.map, and then here we can have some sort of div, and here we can have something like this, and then project.name. Just keeping it simple. So we format the document, save this, and let's see what happens. So now if I go here, it says stream has been cannot be accessed in the client code. That means we cannot use it. What? It should be usable. Shouldn't it be usable in the browser? Oh, okay. That's why. All right. We cannot use this. We cannot use this in the, because it's in the node context. I didn't see it. It should be used in the browser. So we can use the script tag into our index.html just below the body script. And I think we should be good. But then we are using Octokit, which means that now we are going to use something like this. All right, so I'm going to save this, go to our store. Where is my store? Store index.js. So here we do not do this, but we rather do something like this, and that should work. Is my server running? Yes. Is my app running? Yes. Octokit is not defined. Why is my Octokit not defined? That's interesting. Then should I take it out from here when everything is loaded? If I do Octokit, no, it doesn't give it to me. Oh, is that because we are what? Yeah, because it's not global, right? Do I need to do window.octokit here? That's going to be so bizarre. So window.octokit equals to Octokit. That's so sad. I need to make it global. And then if I go here, now it's available. Is that the recommended process? Not really sure. So we import it directly in the module, or can we do it directly there? If I don't do this, let's say if I don't do this, can I do it from in there? Oh, we can do it there. So if I go here and if I do this, no one's stopping me from doing this, right? This should still work. Yeah, it should. Cool. It should. Yeah, I know. So I'm importing this from the CDN directly. This is interesting. I didn't know, or I didn't try this ever. So I don't even need that in the HTML, and I can go and see this working. So I go there, we get the data, and we see this working. Refresh, I log in, we get the data. Super cool. Awesome. All right, got it. So we are importing this from this file, from index.js. So we get it from there. Octokit equals to new Octokit. That can also be done once. So we are not creating new instance of Octokit every time. We don't need to do that. So if I log in it here, the thing is I don't want to do it. I'm gonna do this anyways. Sorry. So if not Octokit, just do that. Octokit equals new Octokit. Otherwise we are not going to do that. So we refresh, log in, everything works. We log out, everything goes to dirt. We also need to make sure that when we log out, we are sending everything null, or we are also setting the projects to this. And now that we have this, we can quickly say here this. So we got Svelte basics here. All right. One of the things that we definitely need to see is the logs for the project itself. So I'm going to go to my app.jsx, and I'm going to also just do a console.log of projects so we can see what we can show in the UI. So projects, some projects here. So we have allow forking, archive URL, blah, blah, blah. One of the things that I really want to do is to save everything in the local storage and then get it from here, so we don't have to do that. So let's see. So if I go and log in, I need to save it in the local storage, and then when I come back, it should be retrieved. So right now what happens is that if I refresh this home page, it goes back to login because the state is refreshed. The state is not persistent. That is the data in ZooStand is not stored persistently in the browser. So every time we refresh, we start with a new store which has login false, credentials null. So what we need to do is that instead of doing that, we need to have some sort of credentials by default. So what I want to do is I want to have an initial state of it. Do they have a recommendation of local storage? If they do, really good. If they don't, I'm going to have to do something about it. So where is ZooStand? ZooStand, local storage. So here we are using get storage and local storage, the food storage. So persist middleware is exactly there. So we have a ZooStand middleware already, so we can use persist here instead of doing our own logic. So here we have persist, and now when we are creating this store, we are creating a persistent storage. So persist, then we have a set and get, something like this. So we do persist. Let's see, I'm going to bring this guy down. So we have set here and get as well. We're going to do persist, and then we have the first parameter is, yeah, the first parameter is set and get. The second parameter is the name itself. So the second parameter is this guy. So we are going to call this app storage, and we don't need to do that. So we are going to format this really quick, save this, and let's see what happens. Now, if I look at the application and go to local storage, you see the app storage here. Yay! We have the state here, projects here, and all of the things are here exactly. Now, if I go and let's say save this, now this should have updated the storage, the local storage with the values. You see here, we got credentials, we got projects, everything is in the state. Now, if I log out, you see the state is changed again, and we have this in the local storage, which means if I sign in now, close this and refresh this, I would not be thrown back to login. Yay! So we have implemented a persistent storage within like a few seconds per se. Now what we want to do is just to show these in the UI. So I'm going to see what properties can we show. We should have a link. We should have an owner. We have the owner's avatar URL, which is good here. Then we also have watchers. We should have stars here. So stargazers count is here. Open issues, language, use template. So we got a lot of things here. Does it have an avatar? No. Archive comments URL, contents URL, created at default branch, downloads URL, forks, has downloads, has pages. Which app is this? Svelte Basics. Okay. Let's pick something else. Let's pick ng Hangman. This ng Hangman has 0 forks. It had some stargazers as far as I remember. Yeah, here. So we have a stargazers count 2. And that's it. Visibility public, watchers count 2. All right, so let's pick something from the Tailwind UI. Let's pick something from here. Something like this. I do want something like this. So this element has like top rated, Vincent, blah, 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 view. Let's pick this one. So we have a nav item which has new releases, top rated, Vincent picks, and then we have movies. And inside we have this list item. So we're going to pick that and go to listitem.js and kind of copy this whole URL. So here we're going to create a new component in the app. We're going to call this list item or listitem.jsx. Paste this guy here. Export this as well. Then we have app put some things there. So in the list item, we have movie.image. I don't think we have an image property, but I think we should have something. TypeScript Tailwind, this should have an avatar URL or a profile URL or something like that. HTML URL, keys, language, license, permissions, pushed at, SSH URL, topics, and then URL itself. I think what we can do is we can first take out the name. There should be a name, right? So this is the name. So we do have the name here, and that should be smaller. No, is it title? Yeah. So here, this should be the name, and wherever we have movie, we replace this with item movie dot. There's a class of movie as well. That means, so if I remove this, this should be item dot, right? And if I talk about movie, yeah, here it should be item. Cool. Awesome. So we got this, we got item dot image, blah, blah, blah. Let's see. So in this case, we are going to use the list item inside app.jsx. So inside of this, we can simply call this list item, and then we say item equals to project, right? Let's see what we get here. It's reloading. It's doing some really hard work right there. Connect. What happened? It's waiting for the CDN skypack.dev. Yeah, there we go. So we got these values here. We got the image here as well. So we are going to go ahead into there, and then we got star rating. In this, every item that we have stargazers count. So we should put stargazers count. So we got 0, 3, 8, 10, 2, 1, blah, blah, blah. Very good. I really like it. And then what else do we have? So we got item.name, item.image. Instead of item.image, what we can do is we can use the owner.avatar URL. So we can do something like item.owner.avatar URL. Save this guy. Oh, it's avatar underscore URL. There we go. What are these things? These things towards the right side. What did I copy actually? So I copied these things. All right. So PG-13 comedy, blah blah blah. So it has some sort of things there. All right. Let's see how we can get those things. So we got rating. Where's the rating? Is it this one? SR only item dot rating rounded. This should have something like what do we call it? What do we call it? Forks? No, default branch. We can call it default branch, which is this one, like this one. Dot default branch. So we got main here. Similarly, the year, or we could say last push. And the last push could have something like, no, we should have the license here, the license. So it should be license dot name. I think license dot name. So we say something like MIT or something. No, is that not the name? What? License null. Yeah, here we have it, MIT license. If we don't have that, then we just do a space here. Would that work? Or we could say something like none, 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 or no license, MIT, right? Then what do we have? We have a last push or recent push, something like that, pushed at. We also have topics. So we could do something like pushed at. Yeah, I'm going to use npm install, save, waiting for the E2E testing. Yeah, me too. Date functions. So we go to date functions, get it. We should have a function called format. So something like this. So we import that right up top on top, and then we should have formative, format distance, and then we do something like this. Da, da, da. And then here we say something like this dot pushed at. So new date. What is it? 3 days ago? No, should be new date. This. And let's see what else. What do we have here? Format date, new date, add suffix true, fresh now. Let's see if we made it work. If we made it work, that's gonna be good. Sub days is not. Yes. Where are we using sub days? Oh yeah, this one. So we shouldn't be doing this. It should be rather this. There we go. 11 months ago, this, 5 months ago, blah, 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 remix jokes. Good. This one, this item name should potentially be text XL, something like this. This should also have some sort of border on each particular element. So what we do in the list is divide y, divide slate 100. So in the app.jsx, we should have something like list, and then we also have these classes, and then we have these ones. So let's do this. And now this should have some sort of UI. Yeah, separator. We are good. Cool, cool, cool. Awesome. This should also have this element with the shadow. So we are going to pick this element and kind of move it inside a project. So we have like projects and then also these classes. So inside this, we are going to move projects. Let's do this. So in white, we got it. We do have the shadow, but it's really not too much. Now this project list should be of max edge. How much it should be? It should be like 96, which is 384 pixel. It could be max height screen divided by 2. I don't really know. It could be something like 80, right? Something like this. No, it doesn't work. No, it should be edge. And that means it's not taking up the 80% height. It should be 80 view height and also something like a width of 90. I don't really know. Width, no. Height 50%. So if we do 1 divided by 3, so width 1 divided by 10 divided by 12, something like this. Ah, okay. And that should then be on this one. And then also this guy should also be here, or overflow auto, something like this, right? That also means that this is going to be a flex column, and then item center, and then justify center, something like this. And then it should also have like a minimum height full. No, we did work on login and we did something there. So I'm going to give the same class to app just to be sure. Yeah, there we go. Awesome. So we got this scroll and we see the pages here, and this looks okay to me. Apart from the fact that we did want this scroll looking really good. It could be better if we did grid, column, grid, call 3, something like that. I mean, this probably looks much better in my opinion. Or maybe do this, something like that. So basic API. All right, so I think we're good here. Now we are going to look into the testing part. So one of the things that I do want in the end is whenever we have this list item, and then let's say we click on some URL, we should have two things. One, this title, this should be inside an h tag or an anchor tag, and then anchor tag should have href set to the item.url, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. Let's see. So here we had some of the URLs. So refresh, we got this one. We have item.url, yeah, URL here. The item.url should be this, and this should also have a cursor pointer, and also should have hover of hover of text indigo 700, something like this. So when we do this, you see it is clickable, and we can go into a new page. And here also it should have a target set to blank, and rel no opener, no referrer, which is good because now we can go just like this. Okay, so the URL, it seems like it's API. Ah, it's API. So it should be GitHub URL or what? Git URL, yeah. Commits URL. No, where is its default URL? Contents URL api.github.com. Yeah, HTML URL. Here it is. A home page per se. This is the home page. So we got item.homepage, and I think that should be good. One of the things that I do want to do is just to make sure we have a responsive UI so it's not shitty like this. So I'm going to go to our app.jsx, and inside here, I'm just going to say that this is going to be MD grid columns 2, but by default, it's going to be grid calls 1, calls 1. Save this. And now you see on the small view, we have this. On the bigger view, we've got that. Now, you know what I want to do? I don't want the scroll. That's what I think right now. I mean, I don't want that. So I'm not going to do this. Sorry. I'm going to remove this. And this is, I believe, much better than what I was thinking. Did I also remove the grid? No. This means that this element is going to be something like this, right? And what I also want is every item in this element is essentially a shadow, has a shadow. So what we have like this, I'm going to actually make it away. If I go into dark mode, that is going to differentiate it, but let's see. So this one I'm gonna remove from here, but I'm going to put it inside here. So we see all of those now. We should also have some sort of gap. So I'm gonna go to my app.js again, and in the grid one, we're gonna have a gap of 4, just like this. Now I think it's much better. I like it. And this one should also have sort of a margin top of 4 or 10, don't really know. 10, yeah, I like this one much more. Cool, awesome. So I think we're good. One of the things that I do think is we have some sort of text align here, which seems a bit weird, so I need to fix that. Yeah, I don't want to have things that look ugly. So here we do have cursor pointer, text SL, font semi-bold, flex auto, minimum width is this. Where does it say that we have the text aligned to, yeah, this is much better. Alrighty, cool. Now let's get into the testing. So I'm gonna quickly go ahead and first commit the code. So let's do git init, and then git status, git add, git commit, m initial implementation and code, or app implementation, and then we say clear, and now we are going to say the testing. So git branch m, we're changing the branch name now, and then we're going to create a new GitHub repository and push it before we do anything else. So we're going to go to our profile, and here we do have the repository. So I'm going to go to here, new repository. This should be inside CodeWithAhsan. Here we say React, Cypress, Cucumber. So we're going to make it public. I'm going to quickly go ahead and add the remote from here. Git remote add origin, git push, u origin. Quickly see this pushed, and then quickly refresh. See these changes. Cool, got it. All right, now let's talk about Cypress and the way we'll handle Cucumber as well. So we're going to first install Cypress. Then we're going to do a couple of things. Do we need to do this via save dev? I think yes, because we don't want this to push. Okay, once we do so, we can quickly initiate it doing this. And we also have the run command as well. So we can add a new command to package.json. And inside package.json, we are going to add a new command. We are going to say Cypress open, and that should run us this for us, the Cypress open command. And then also we should have a Cypress, or we could say test E2E, and then we run the Cypress in that case. Okay, so now that we have this, it's installing or downloading Cypress and unzipping Cypress as well. First of all, we are going to run a simple test for Cypress, but afterwards we are going to run it in the way we want to. So we are going to run it via Cucumber and the language called Gherkin, if I'm right. So we are going to run npm run test no Cypress open. Now what that does is that it detects that you're running it for the first time and it opens it just like this. It has some examples for you. For example, getting started with the to-do specs. So if I open this will run in a new window, an app sort of. You see that it goes to example.cypress.io and runs all these tests for us with a check task, with other things as well. But yeah, you see what I mean, right? So now we're going to start writing our own test. And if I go back to tests, or if I maybe close this, I can see that we have this integration tests, and inside that we have a lot of files. So what we are going to do is that I'm going to leave this for now, and I'm going to create a new folder inside Cypress and kind of work with that. Now, one of the things that you need to know is the URL we are going to be testing against. So we can do a couple of things with Cypress JSON, and this also asks me if it can run it on my machine. So I'm gonna allow the access for this one. Interesting. Why does the screen blur? Give me 1 second. I'm gonna quickly see something really quick. All right, I have something now. So one of the things to know about Cypress is that, and I have a whole video on Cypress on my YouTube channel, but one of the things to know is we have this cypress.json, which can have a couple of things. For example, the base URL. So you don't have to type, when you navigate to different pages, you don't have to type the entire URL. So we know which particular port our app is running on. So our app is running on 3000. So we are going to go ahead into our code, and then we are going to say here it's going to be 3000. We're ignoring the test from examples folder, which is Cypress integration, and then we have some here. So I think we can remove, oh, it doesn't have the examples anymore. It does have the example JSON here, or we probably can move inside examples. So I'm going to say examples here, and I'm going to kind of move these two inside examples, right? So we don't get to see them anymore. So here you can see that now if I refresh now, try again, actually I'm going to close this and run this again. So now you see that it uses the Cypress JSON using the localhost 3000. It will also open the view or the app here, and you can see that it says could not verify the server is running. No files found inside there, right? So now we can create a new file with a login spec, and then we can go from there. So we are going to go ahead and go into integration, and here we can say something like app, and inside here we can say something like login.spec.js. Now we can start with something really basic, kind of use the to-do spec as an example. So I'm going to first go up top, kind of remove all of these things that we have, kind of remove this as well. And then, yeah, I think we can keep some of those, but kind of remove the next items. So I'm going to click here, click all the way here, and now we have got a test. So here we can say something like example, GitHub projects app. This is my description for the entire suite here. Then we are going to visit, for every test, we need to visit a place. For this app, we are actually visiting slash right here. So if I try again, I don't know why it says localhost 4200 again, whereas this should, oh, because I've not saved it. Sad. So now it kind of detects it, but no files found in the Cypress integration. So let me try to see. So integration has, so static spec.js, and we only ignore the test files into there. And when we do that, it doesn't get anything. All right, we're going to see that later, why doesn't that work. But let's say we go to login.spec.js, and when we run this test, it's gonna not work for me. So it goes to the home page, and then it does nothing because we don't have the test written. So we're going to quickly test it. We're going to quickly go and say in the login spec, we are going to say, or we can say actually login here, and then we go to slash, and then we should say that it should have logged in into the app. So for that, we need to do some sort of example code, which means that first we need to do a logout in order to log in, just to make sure? Maybe we should. So in this case, we run the login first. So what we do here is that first we are going to check the UI for this one. When we do a logout, it should essentially see here the input. So we do have the ID email address, and then we have the ID password. So we need to get it via this. So we are going to first get two elements. So we are going to say cy.get, Then here we get the email address. Is it a class? No. Is it a class? It should be the ID, right? It is an ID. So we go here, we get it using the hash, and then we are going to essentially enter some keys there. So we are going to say this dot type, and then we are going to say Ahsan at example.com. So we have a test here. Then we also say this, and then we say cy.get, and then we say something like password, and then we also say type, and then we say test 123. And once we are done with that, we are going to go to our login.jsx, and inside here we should have a button that we should submit. So this button doesn't have any ID, so we are going to give this an ID. So we can say login submit. Once we do so, we can go to our spec, and then here we can go and say cy.get, and then here we can say login submit dot click. And then what we should see or we should test is that we have cy.url, and here cy should include or should be that, right? Something like this. So when we test this, let's see what happens. So we're going to be running the login, or stop this, go to login spec, and here let's see. So now it says it should have been this, but it's not that. The chainer B is language chainer provider to improve the readability of your assertion, not actual assertion. Please provide a valid assertion. So it should, is it equal? No, it's equal, right? I don't think it's B, it's equal. I think it's equal. Yay! So we are looking at HTTP localhost 3000 to equal that, which means that we should get it something like this. So should it be like env dot or process dot env dot base URL, if I'm correct? How do I get, no, Cypress get env variable, or can we say get base URL? So I think I need to pass that as, yeah, I need to pass that as an env variable as well. For example, project ID, then I should also pass this as where cypress.json. So I need to pass this as an env variable as well. So we need to say env, and here we can say base URL localhost 3000. So if I do this, do my test spec, login spec, let's see, equal undefined. Why though? Because we have a base URL here, and here we check in the login.spec.js process.env.base URL. So instead of doing base URL, we do this. We do base URL. So we could just go ahead and try this out. No, we actually need that. The URL is having this done, and we can actually use this interpolation instead. So now let's try this. Yay, we got our first test pass. Awesome. We are going to go to app.jsx, and then here, we need to do this. So no, we need to run this one. So refresh, try this again. Should log in with the email and password. Fine. Email not provided, also passed. Okay, you see that we cleared the email, we entered the password, we submitted it, and then it showed us a message, but we have not checked the messages. We have just checked the URL doesn't exist. So in this case, we should have had a message, a check for the message per se, which is, I'm going to close other ones. I'm going to open login.jsx just to be sure we are looking at what we want to look at. So here we're going to copy this guy, and then we should see the error message. So we should have an element with the email error. So we can give this an ID, email error, and then we should show this right there. So we should then say cy dot get, and then here we have email error should be visible, and then here we can also say cons email error element equals, and then we kind of get this here. No, what did I do? So this should be something like this, and then we have email error element dot should be visible. That's the first thing that we need to test. And then also email element, it should be something like dot should contain have text. Yeah, and then this is what we have, email is required. So when we do this, let's see if the test passes. C.type failed because the targeted is a disabled element. Alrighty, so we got two of those, 2 of 2. So we see the message here, we see this to be visible or some. Similarly, we should also have another thing for the password. So here we should say when the password is not provided. So we are going to say the password is clear, but the email is essentially dot type. We can say ahsan at test.com, and then we should have a password error here. and then we should have a password is required. We're going to copy the exact same message just to be sure, because then whenever someone changes or some developer changes the code, we would know that something has changed and we won't be expecting something that shouldn't be there. So second test passed, third test doesn't pass. Why? Because we don't have any password error element yet. So we're going to copy this, we're going to go here, and then in this error we're going to give this id of password error, and then we can quickly see this running. So I'm going to run this again. First one passes, second one passes, and the third one also passes. So we got three tests, 3 for 3. Cool. Awesome. So one thing that we also need to do is also have a test for the app. So integration app, and then we can also have our app.spec.js. In this one, we are going to do something similar to login, but not quite yet. So we are going to say app here is going to do cy.visit slash, then should log out or should log out the user on logout click. Now, there's one thing interesting that we are going to look at right now, but let me get back to you on that in a bit. So in this case, when we log in and when we say click 1, 2, 3, sign in, we see the element up top from there. So that's what we are going to look at. So we should see two things. The email is visible, logout button is visible, and we can log out. So should log out the user on logout click. That means that we should have sort of an ID on this particular element. So we can go ahead and say in the header. So in header, we do have the logout button, but we give this an ID of logout button. We save this, we go ahead, we get this element, we click on this element, and then we expect that the URL should now equal base URL slash. No, it should be login, right? So I'm gonna quickly remove the other tests from here. I'm gonna quickly save this file, and now we should be able to see the test for others as well. So here, I'm gonna quickly go and try out the app spec. So it's gonna go to slash, but then it's trying to find the login one. So we need to update page where this goes when this test starts. So it should go to login in the beginning. So here you see we are on the login page. No, it should go to the app, but when it goes to the app, it navigates away and changes back to this. Now comes the actual part. So in support, we need to add a new command of logging in. So here we're going to actually add input commands. So we are going to add another command here, just like this, or actually just like this. This is a parent command. So we have cypress.commands.add login email password. So we need to do this. I'm going to comment or uncomment this out. And then we need to run this command exactly how we are running in the login spec. So in the login spec, we have this particular case where we apply the email and password, right? So here, now what we can do here is that we can have this value here, and by default, we can use these values for the email and password. So we can provide the default value here. So email is going to be this, password is going to be this, and then we just say email here, and then we say password here. Then we essentially, in the login case, we are doing these two things as well. So in this case, we can quickly do this cy.login submit.click and then wait as well. This is too much wait. I'm going to just wait for 1 second. Just quickly do this. And now instead of doing all of this here again, we can just simply say cy.login, right? And what would happen in this case is that we don't even need to pass the email and password, because when we do so, our login tests would still be passing. I can show you real quick. So let's go there. Let's run the login spec. And now you should see that still when we run this code, we by default do get all of these. So these things are essentially happening in the login file or in the common file where we have the code, the common code. You can see that it waited for 1000 seconds because I just changed it, right? Now the fun part here is that since that is a common command, I can now go ahead inside my app spec, and here I can do this, which means that it's going to go to homepage, login, and now we are going to test the logout button as well. So I'm going to close this one, try the app spec, so I don't have to rewrite my code there. Now you see it goes to home, then login, and now our test pass. Yay! Let's go. So what happened is that initially it did all the login stuff. Then it went to the home page, found out the login button, as you can see right there. It kind of finds it. Then it hits click. Since that hits click, the URL navigates automatically to login page. And then we check if the URL is login. Of course it is. and the test pass. We should also see one more thing, and that is that we see the email as well. So we should have another test here, and then we should also have something like here that says should see the user's email when we go to the or email in the header per se, right? Because that's also sort of a test that we need to see. When we go to the page, you see on top there we have the ahsan@example.com. So we are writing the test for that. For that, we also need obviously some sort of identifier for this. So we do have like this class name text mr, but it's better to give this an sort of ID. So we have header email in header sort of ID, or we could also say user email. Yeah, naming is tough, I know. So in this particular case, we're going to try to find this, and then we are supposed to say should be or should be visible. That's the first thing. This element should be visible. Then we should also test that this element does have the email, in fact. And so we should say cy.get, and then, or actually we are doing this 2 times. So I'm going to take this into one. So we can say const user email. That's not what I wanted. I wanted this. So cy.get user email. Then I need to test that user email should be visible. User email should also have .text, and the text should be some email that I'm going to provide. So I can say email for test@test.com. Now the thing is, I have not used this email so far in the app, right? So why would this email be present there? That is because when I do the user.login with this cy.login, we have the ability in the commands to pass a custom email here. So I can pass the custom email now. So I can say this, I'm not passing any password. It's going to be the same as test123, but I'm passing the email, and that's what I'm expecting. So we can also say something like const test email, because I'm hard coding the email twice. I don't want to do that. I do want to do it once. So I can say test email here, and then I can use it here as well as here. And this is much better. So we run this, we see requested module blah 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 does not provide. So in this case, we don't have the email address element. What does that mean? Does that mean we don't have the ID? So for the test email, we went to this. All right. So that means I did already log in, and now I need to log in into no. So the thing is, this CY visit, that is becoming a problem. So I can probably do this instead. I don't have to run this into before each, but rather I would have to run it like this. And now it should work. So the first one, it works. The second one, it works. Yay! So first we find the user email. We expect it to be visible, of course. And then we try to find it again and also test that we have the correct value. Now the thing is that we see everything working fine. What happens when we have an error, right? So when we have an error, it looks something like this. I changed it and then I used it again. So I'm going to say test email, something like this. Test email, something like this. So now it's going to break because we are expecting something else and we are providing something else, right? So here you see that it runs for like 4 seconds. And then it says, hey, no, you are testing this particular value, but in actual, we found this one, email for test, blah, blah, blah. Alrighty, so I think we're good here. So we do have all the tests. Now the thing is, what we want to do in this particular case is migrating away from this test to the other one. So I'm gonna actually put it here. Then I think we have the tests covered. We also have the files also created. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna remove the additional files. We don't want that. So I'm going to remove all of this, the example ones. I'm going to close this one, and I'm going to rather do cancel, and then rm, rf, Cypress, integration, examples. So we only got app spec and login spec. So I'm going to move this into integration. No need to have the app folder anymore. I'm going to remove this, and now I'm going to just add all the files. Cypress JSON, example JSON. We don't need this as well for now. Delete file, commands, index. What was that? I saw a comment. Yeah. So we need to enable this get projects so we can do the testing. But what I would do is that I would actually mock this. So we are not calling our test API every now and then. You know what I mean? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a breakpoint in the app where we get the data. So we are not doing that over and over again. So I'm going to do this and this. right? So let's see. So I'm gonna save this, try this out, refresh. I'm gonna do this. It goes. Hopefully it gets the data this time. Yes, it does. No, it doesn't. Maybe. Yes, it does. Okay, so I'm gonna use the data here. I'm going to kind of hard code this or copy this. So I'm going to say JSON dot stringify. So projects dot data dot, yeah, I think it's the data. And then we say null, we say 2, and then here we go. So we got that, but it does something to it. What is projects data exactly? It's this one, right? So can we store it in a global variable? Yes, we can. And now if I do temp1 or json.stringify temp1, it does this, right? So I'm going to copy this. I'm going to go into the fixtures file, and then I'm going to create, what do you call it? Projects.fixture.js. All right, I think what we can do is open it in the new tab. We should get all of this. We're going to say raw, and then we are going to copy from there. So const projects equals, or was it just a JSON? I think it should be just a JSON and nothing else, not a const. So we're going to save this, right? Then we are going to mock the API. So we are not calling actual API every now and then. So we are going to go and say login spec.js, and even when we do login, we go to the main page, right? So we are going to also say cy.intercept, and here we are going to give the API call, which is api.github.com. So we're going to say https api.github.com/orgs static, and then we essentially do this. We're going to import the fixtures. So we need to do something like cy.fixture. Then we say projects.fixture.js as projects. We get projects, and here we say cy.intercept, and then here we pass the projects. So this means that we are going to be using this version, which should potentially work, I believe. But let's see what happens. So I'm going to run Cypress npm run Cypress open. So we are mocking our project's fixture, and we are getting the fixture running. And where are we exactly mocking this? In the login page. Okay, so I'm gonna go to login and see what's the case there. Projects.fixture.js. Should it be just projects? I think it goes inside fixtures and gets the JavaScript name. Should it be projects only? I think so. Let's see. Fixture project. Project is not a valid JavaScript object, unexpected token. This and that happened because, do we have a semicolon somewhere? What? No. Oh, it should be up. It should not be JS, it should be JSON. Save this. No. Now it ruined all of my data, right? So I need to go to my app, copy this guy again, come back here, and then paste it and save this, and it should be good, I think. So if I refresh now, and we should get the data. So now you see that here, when it goes to the home page, we have that, right? So it should have retrieved the data. If I run the app spec, and if I run the app spec and sort of, let's say, wait for this. So we do login, we do this. Let's say we also run another test that has some items. So let's say, or actually let's do this one. Before the test email, before the login, we say cy.wait 5,000 milliseconds. So which means we are going to wait for like 5 seconds. So I'm going to go here, run this, and let's see what happens. So we go there. In this one, we wait for a while. Do we get the data? Do we do any calls? Yeah, we do get the data, and this should show us the data itself. So this call request went to origin. Yes. So we got api.github.com orgs, something like that. So that meant that we are not mocking here. That's why. So we need to mock it here. We need to say cy dot, or actually before each, we need to run this guy. cy dot fixture projects dot then projects. Then we need to say cy.intercept, and then we have this, and then projects, right? Now let's see if it does the same thing. So it did get some data, but does that mean we did the call here? So the data that we got here is this. We got the response headers, we got the request headers. In the response headers, we got this data particularly, and we got URL, blah, blah, blah. Am I missing something? I think I'm missing something, and that missing is we need to do all of this and intercept the call before we do that. And we are mocking the data. I just want to make sure we're mocking the right data. So let's say we got CodeWithAhsan Svelte basics. Let's say if I go ahead and change my data inside project.json, and the first one is Svelte basics, right? So full name, let's say If we change this to blah, I do want to see that that happens. So I'm going to go ahead and try this out. No, it goes to the API itself. All right, let's see Cypress fixtures now. So Cypress fixtures. All right, so we have fixture file path. We say as user JSON. Oh, we also need to wait for the JSON. No, do we? So we got cy.fixture users as user JS. Then we also need to do intercept, and we need to do it via intercept or fixture. Exactly. So we do this. Oh, this is how we do it. User JSON, fixture, user JSON, something like this. Okay. So that means I was writing it in a wrong way, which means I need to go to my file and then just do this fixtures user.json. And is it this, or do I need to just provide? Yeah, I think probably this would work. So if I just do this, let's see, save this guy, try this again, refresh. Oh, did I say users? Should be projects. Okay, we got the data now, and we should also click the API call and see what happens there. So if I click this one now and it says this and that, okay, one of the things I need to see is the data itself. So it has Svelte basics here, but it did not change the name that I set. So we do a cy.intercept, and then we also do fixture, and then we do as projects. Let's say we do it projects, then we should be do cy.wait projects. So we wait for projects first. Yeah, that's not what I'm worried about. cy.type failed because this is a disabled event. This email address should not be disabled, to be honest. So when it goes here, it's waiting for the call, but that already went. So that means, let me have a quick look. So we first attempt login. It goes to the home page, automatically starts doing the projects call. If I do wait, then it's gonna wait for the call first and then it will go forward. Yes, that's bizarre. And now still I don't see it. I'm doing some really silly mistake that I really need to see. With a string, yes. With a fixture, yes. The static response, yes. So we got a fixture JS here that should have sent back the actual data, which is fixtures project JSON. Did I change the full name? Yes, I did. Of Svelte basics, but I still don't see the change somehow. I'm gonna make sure it's not a problem with Cypress itself. It's something that I have to fix. So app.spec.ts or JS, then we are doing a cy.before each or before each. We do projects JSON and then we run the app specs. Don't see that's working. Svelte basics, Svelte basics. The full name is still getting this, and the network call is still going there. Stubbing a response, waiting on the request. Am I stubbing the wrong API call? Or is that because, let's see if we try this with the complete URL. So let's say if I copy the link address here and then try it out with the test, it should be this, then that should responded with, now we get it. So we had to use the complete URL instead of the wildcard. But in the past, the wildcard has worked for me. Not really sure, but anyways, we got the data that we wanted. So if I do this and if I go here, it says this doesn't say that no response was stubbed, see below. So here you see that we got the intercept, it matched, and then we got the data. So now we don't have to worry about the HTTP calls. All right, so we got the tests running, which is cool. All of our tests running. We got the mock data as well, which is good. No alias, we are running it from the mock data. Cool. Awesome. Finally, I think what we need to do is just kind of see how many tests or how many objects in the items. So right now, when we get all of this data, where's the UI? Projects, divide, but then we don't have anything. Why don't we have anything inside? Oh, because we removed the code. Yeah. So we are gonna go to our app.jsx and actually uncomment this one. This should be good. Cool. So we got the data now. So essentially we have about how many tests? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Almost 16 pages or 16 items. So what we need to do is that we need to actually find out that these elements, that we have so many elements. So what we are going to do is we're going to essentially take these articles and then we are giving them some IDs. So this one essentially would have a class of list item. So here we are going to say list item, or we are going to say gh list item. And then we are going to expect in our test that we get like 16 of them. So we're going to go and write our final test. I'm going to quickly run Cypress open, go to app.jsx, or actually inside the test, we have the app.spec.ts or app.spec.js. And finally, we should say something like it should see the list of GitHub projects, right? And then we do this, and then we do again whatever we have, we do login. We should say that we should get first, I think we should be waiting for the call, so we can say something like projects, right? And then we wait for the project, so we do login, then we do cy dot wait for projects, and then we should say list item should have length, and then that should be comma and 16, right? So something like that, something on the lines of this. So we run app.spec.js. Let's see what happens here. So in this one, we run the first test, it's good. We run the second test, should be good. The third step, we get the projects, and then we expect nice. So we don't get the list items. Have we not saved the file? We have. Oh, it's gh list item. Yes, because that. So it's gonna be here. We're gonna say gh list item, save this guy, and let's see now. So we should now have this test working. There we go. We got all the items. We got 16 items and we are good to go. All right. So now that we have written the test, we're going to quickly push this. So we're going to say clear, git status, git add, git commit m, or we can use gitmoji here, gitmoji, and we are going to essentially say adding tests. So let's see. Introduce feature, improve structure, no, yes. So we say added app tests using Cypress, right? Commit message, edit tests for app and login. And then what we need to do is that we need to say git, and then we are also going to create a new branch. So we can say something like git checkout Cypress only, or we can say git checkout b Cypress only. And this is what we have. So we do a git push, and then we only push the Cypress only one. I'm actually creating a branch where we have only Cypress tests. And now we are going to add Cucumber, git checkout main. Now let's do Cucumber. So we're going to go and say Cucumber Cypress. So we do have this. We're going to add this by going to installation. So essentially we run the Cypress Cucumber preprocessor. So we're going to add that real quick. And what Cucumber does is that we are using Cucumber because it makes it really easy for us. And this is IC plan. So this shouldn't be the one. Actually, this should be the one. So essentially, we are adding Cucumber because we want a way for people to write user stories even if they're not technical. So this is the sort of key. So what we need to do is that once we are done installing it, we need to import this into Cypress index.js. So we're going to go ahead and say Cypress plugins index.js, and inside here we are going to import and include it. So we're going to do something like this: const cucumber require cucumber processor default, then we say module.exports on config, and inside here we essentially add this particular line on file processor, and then we add cucumber to it, right? Then we need to go for Cypress and add this feature as well. So we need to add the feature file here. Now we already have spec files in our Cypress file or Cypress config. So if I go to cypress.json, you can see here that we did have a files one, test files one. So we're going to actually add this, but instead of this, we could have something like feature or spec.js, something like this, and then comma as well. So when we do this, we should be able to run Cypress open. Our app is already running on the other one. So in this case, we run Cypress open. And here now you see we still get the spec.js. But with Cucumber, we have a couple of different things. So we have please make this section on global definition true. No, we don't need that. We do have a common path. That is fine. Cypress integration common. Okay, that makes sense. Default value of this is false, which means that it goes into step definitions. So we do have a support file here, and then we have some other files as well. Okay, for writing features, we need to do something like this, but that is the syntax that they use. So essentially we can write our test instead of spec, app.spec, we can have some features and some files relatively to that. So what we need to do is we need to change the file in a couple of cases. First of all, we are going to go ahead and in the integration, we're going to say that now we have And now we can add some code to it. So this is going to be something like this. So this is going to be app. And then here we have essentially the steps definition. So we are going to say, as a user, I want to see, what do you call it? My GitHub projects, right? Something like this. Then we have some scenarios here. So we are going to say scenario, see my GitHub projects. So what would happen here is that we can write. Anyways, let's say given on the app page, I see my, and one of the fun parts of generating this whole CSS actually that I'm gonna show off right now. It's CodeWithAhsan. Now one would imagine that I would have to create, or how do I create all these CSS files like the tile positions, and that's where things get interesting. So I'm waiting to be able to create a tutorial for this one, but there's so much to teach, so many techniques that go in there, but I can show you one thing really quick. For example, this, you see all the rows, all the columns, and in the SAS file we run a loop, we run a nested loop into these rows and columns, and then we generate those classes like tile position 00, tile position 01, tile position 02. Then similar goes for other rows and other columns, and then we end up creating all of that. So it's not hard coded anywhere, and we can modify how many rows there are. If I change, let's say, the rows to not 4 by 4, but let's say 10 by 10, that's even possible. If I want to change the block width from which the transform is calculated, I can change that as well. So it's pretty neat. I mean, this is the entire CSS in general, or at least the custom CSS in general. Rest of it is just Tailwind. Maybe we have another CSS file in the style.css, but I don't believe we are doing much there. Yeah, we're not doing much there. You can run a loop CSS. I didn't know that. Yes, you can run a loop. You can have arrays in SCSS. You can have variables in SCSS. SCSS is really powerful, and I really like it specifically where you have to create a lot of classes. I personally believe that even these folks, Tailwind CSS, which have like these BG orange 10, 20, 30, or 100, 200, 300, 400, they do something similar to generate all that CSS, most likely. Awesome. So I was writing the test and say I see my 16 GitHub projects, right? So something like this. But should I do something like this, like 16 GitHub projects? I'm not really sure. Maybe there's some way to specify variables here and that. But anyways, so I'm going to create another folder here, app. Then I'm going to say something like app.js. And then we are going to run a test using Gherkin. Am I opening my to-do app? No, please get out. Where's my app? Where's my app? Where's my app? Here's my app. So on Cypress, no. In Cucumber, the Google JS, exactly, here is what I want. So we should say given. So given I open Google page, here we should have something like I'm on the app page. So here I would say I'm on the app page, cy.visit, and here we should have the URL that should essentially just be HTTP, or can I get, I think I get process.env.base URL maybe. So I'm going to say visit URL. It's going to be cypress.env base URL. So we're going to take the URL here. Then we are going to visit the URL. Then we are going to do cy.login in this case. So given I'm on the app page, which means I've done URL and then I'm logged in, and then we should have a then. I should see, is it something like this? I think I see my GitHub. I should see my number GitHub projects, something like this. So we should have a number here, something like this. So we need to do number, but here, and then we should check here exactly from the app feature. We should have exactly this one. So we do a cy.wait projects. So we do this. Is that it? I think. So if I go and check, if I go and close this, open this again, it should get it, I think. app.js, login.spec.js. Cypress JSON says we should have either feature, spec.js, or feature. Something like this, I think. There we go. Yeah. So now we see the feature file here. So if I click on app feature, let's see how that works. I'm on the app page, then blah, blah, blah. Step implementation missing for I'm on the app page. It's given I'm on the app page, but why don't we run it? Do I have to include some sort of, wait a second. Cucumber, installation. We go installation, we go and say test files are all of the feature files. Then we have no, Cypress integration Google feature as proposed above in the professor will read all of the files inside Cypress integration Google. So google.js or any index.js in the same file path. Then what have I done that isn't okay? So we have like app, and inside that we have, do I have to make it so that it is, no, it shouldn't be a problem. It should not be a problem in my personal opinion. But if I change this to, let's say, app, then would I have to change this to app? And then inside we have this, so we say app.js. Would that be a problem? Because if yes, then that's stupid. So I see app feature. If I open this, no, it says it's still struggling to find those steps. I'm on the app page. Let's see what we have done wrong. So we got Cypress steps, we got a given here, we got a then here, we got the app.js here inside the app feature. So we got feature app main page, step definitions. I'm gonna remove this guy from here for now. In the commands, or in index or plugins, we do see the on file preprocessor and config, right? And we do install this via index.js. So in here, if we open app feature, let's see here, we get all those files, we get the page, we get app.feature, we still don't get this. And it's gonna be really small, stupid thing, but we don't know that yet. In their example, they said google.feature, okay? Then inside here, when they say Google, the folder name is still Google, the feature is still Google, but the code doesn't work still. Is it because we are using spec.js as well? I'm gonna try to remove spec.js and see only features. So let's see. Now it says no, nothing found. So feature. So if I say feature now and run it, let's see. So we see app feature, we run the app feature, and it says the same thing. So we're gonna go ahead and try to change it. This is gonna become app feature. Gonna have app here, and then inside here it's gonna be app.js. Save all of that, go to app feature, and it still has this problem. And this is given, and I'm using the given statement as well. Got given on the page, which is right here. I'm absolutely not sure. If I take out the app.js outside as well, would that make it so that it's found? No. See my GitHub project. So this one had a problem with this. So I gotta see why is this not working. I see the string. Let's see. I need to see why it's not working. Does not run all of the features. Oh, do we have a step definition in our code? Or should we put the I'm thinking now. So in our Cypress, we have single feature files, which have test file, feature, and features. Then we run this one. This is the recommended way. The step definitions creation. Feature will use step definition font directly with the same name as your feature file. JavaScript files containing the Java definition can have other names if you want to break them into different concerns. But this doesn't work. Cypress integration google.feature does not read anything inside this. Or maybe I'm doing it wrong. So Cypress has integration. Inside we have app.feature. Then we got the scenario, the given. Then I have app.js, where I have this guy here. So I can remove this as well. And this. So if I do this, would it start showing up? It says I am on the app page. This is not, the step implementation is missing for this one. Although I have this step implementation. I'm going to remove this guy from here because it tries to go inside app and do this. So even this one should still have, that means I should have this. I'm on the app. I need to change this when I'm on the app page. If I try to do this when, does it do it? If I do, it doesn't get it at all. The IDE, use studio code, create test from scenario. Okay, it's failing to get it for sure. If we rename this to index, if we rename this integrations app index.js, does it also do the same thing? This is so bizarre. I need to see why. If we go to our package.json, we can add another property here, which is Cypress cucumber processor and non-global step definitions true. I'm gonna have to see if that fixes the issue. Yeah, it does. So we definitely had to add that. The following error origin from your test code, undefined parameter type number. So when it would add that, we would get it back. Okay. So let's see, that was the issue. So when we talked about parameters, we looked at this where we have result equals to int, and then we check this, right? So when we see this value, we should go here and say, I verify that the result is equal to that. I verified that the result equals to int, and then we say result. So in this case, we're gonna be going to index.js and do cy login, and then we do something like this. I should see my number GitHub projects. And here we have, I should see my 16 GitHub projects. Do this and check the tests, refresh. Let's see what happens. Parameter type. Oh, it should be. Should it be int? Where is it? It should be int. So it says it should see my 16 GitHub projects. Step implementation for missing for it should see my 16 GitHub projects. And that means I should copy all of this. Then I should go to app, and then I should put this here because there was a typo in this GitHub. You see, there is a capital GitHub, smaller GitHub. There's a difference there. And I can now use 16 GitHub projects, save this, and this should work. All right, could not find a registered alias for projects. That is because we are not running any waits. So first of all, you're gonna go to base URL, and we do that by going here. You say base URL, then we take out of our interceptor just like this. So we go inside index.js, and here we also say before, just before everything we do, and we do something like this, and we save this and we try this out. We're probably missing something. URL is not defined. Yes, it is not, because it is renamed to base URL. Now let's try this. All right, so we got it. We get the test passing. Yay! So the good thing about this one is that this app feature is written by tester per se, and also we can add some other tests. For example, we can say should see the user username in the header. So we can say something like scenario see users email in the header. Then we can say when I am on the app page, then I should see my email in the header, right? So we do this. We're gonna implement a then for this one. So this we are also going to do then email in the header, and this is where the magic begins. So we're gonna copy some code, and then I can quickly test it. So I can quickly go here and test my email in the header. So we can say something like this, and the test email here, const test email equals ahsan at example.com. That's what we are using right now. So when we do this, it should have text that, and then we also save this. Now let's see if we have two tests running. Here's the first one. Here's the second one. Yay! I'm on the app page, but it didn't save this. Ah, what? I should see my email in the header. Where is that? But where is the step? When I'm on the page, where is the second step? Targeted is a disabled element. I don't know why it gets disabled. Yeah, there we go. So I'm on the page, then it went ahead and it said, hey, I should see this email in the header. There we go. Super cool. Now we can add a last one, scenario C, or actually the third one was when the user on logout click. So it should say scenario log out of the app on the logout button click. So here we can say when I am, or actually let's make this given, and then also change this inside the app index.js, or we could call it app.js as well. Now I think it's gonna work still. We're gonna get given, right? And we also are going to import when afterwards. So when is here. I'm gonna save this guy. I'm gonna say given I am on the app page. When I click the log out button, then I should be logged out. So that is the simplest way possible. So I'm gonna implement the when here, which means that here I'm going to say after this given, we can have something like when I click on the logout button, which means that we need to get the logout button and then click on it, right? So here I'm gonna go and copy this from logout button, get this guy, and then this. So we are going to go to app.js here, go and quickly click this, and then we are implementing then something, and then I need to paste the code where we are testing out what is the implementation. Now in this case, we have I should be logged out, and that should be here, right? Which means that now I'm logged out, I'm now on the login. So here, let's check it out. Yay! So you see, first of all, it's given I'm on the app page. All right, so the user is on the app page. Then it's when I click the logout button. So when we are clicking the logout button by getting it and then clicking it, then it says I should be logged out, and then we just check that the user has logged out with the URL. Cool, cool, cool. Awesome. Now let's quickly add another one for login. So I'm going to quickly go ahead and start with creating a new file with login.feature. And then we are going to also create a folder called login, then also a file called login.js. Inside the login feature, we are going to start with just like the app feature. So here we are going to copy the same things. So first of all, we should say I should log in with email and password. So we are going to say I want to see the login. I want to be able to log in. So we can call this login page, close this guy, Cypress index login package. So now in the login feature, we are also going to open the login.js. Now here we could say that scenario login using correct or valid credentials, right? So here we can say I am on the login page when I enter valid credentials, or we could say when I enter ahsan@test.com as the email and I enter 123456 as a password and I click on the login button, and then I should be logged in. Very good. Thank you, GitHub Copilot. And then we should also have something like scenario should log in. How do I say this? See, yeah, okay. So here we could say see email required error when the email is not provided. So here I can say, given that I'm on the login page, something like this, then and we can say and when, or we could say when I enter, or I could just say and I enter 256 as a password and I click on the login button, then I should see email required error. Okay, similarly we are going to copy the same thing for the password. So here we say see password required error when the email is not provided. So I'm on the login page, I enter ahsan@test.com as the email, right? That's the one. When I enter ahsan as the email and I click on the login button, I should see the password require error. Okay, so when we do this, we can quickly go ahead and implement the login aspect of it. I think these are the three tests that we have in the login spec. 1, 2, 3, exactly. So we're gonna go and start with app one, this one, go here, gonna take all of these. We're not going to be going, yeah, we can intercept because yeah, we don't want other things to ruin it. So we're gonna play this smartly, which means that in the login one, we do have a before each in which we cy.visit as well. So we are going to do the same thing here. We're going to do cy.visit. Then we are intercepting this as well. So actually we should do this. First intercept, then visit. Then we can say I am on the login page, and then we have base URL, something like this. In this case, we just do a login. All right. Then I should see my, then what would happen is we have a lot of things to do. All right. So then what we should do is cy.feature projects, blah, 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 should log in with the, why is it only? So it, no, clear only. So it should log in with email and password. So that should be this. And then it says, when I enter ahsan as the email and enter 123456 as the password. So that means we are trying to log in using a particular email and password, which means that I need to be specific about the login. Then I think I would have to do this. When I say ahsan as an email and 1235 as a password, so it's going to be one of those. So this one, it's going to be a bit different, and then these two, yeah, exactly. So that means we're not going to have login at least in that. So in this login one, what I'm doing here is that, let me think. So we do a visit to slash, and then I need to do login when I'm on the login page. Given I'm on the login page, yes, so it should be something like base URL, and that means we don't need to do this visit. Given I'm on the login page, I entered this. When I enter string as the email and string as the password, here we can say email, password, and then we do something like this. So we do cy.login, email, password. So when we do this, then I should see my email in the header. I'm going to remove all of these tests here. So we got this, and we say in the login itself or the login feature using button creation, when I enter this and click on the login button, then I should be logged in. So I'm going to quickly comment out all of these, quickly see the login feature per se. So the login feature is this one. At least those two steps should be good, but I think the rest of those would be a problem. So I'm on the login page. I'm on the login page. It doesn't get it. So login.js, login.feature. I'm on login page. I'm on the login page. On the login page. I'm on the login page. I am on the login page. Save it. Save it. Try it out. Then we are getting the email address and other things as well. So that means in the login page where we are here, I'm on the login page. It goes towards base URL/login. And we got the base URL here as well. And we are doing a login.feature where we are saying given. I'm on the login page, and then we get, isn't it in before projects? No. We go to login. Yes. Can we log in? Can we also do a console log of this base URL as well? So we run this now. So we refresh. It says localhost 3000.login, but it isn't showing that. cy.visit/ now it works. So I need to do a cy.visit. Okay. So then what we need to do is all of this. Then we say when I enter this as the email and password, so it's saying it doesn't have this implementation, which means that when I do login.feature, when I enter this as the email and this as the password, this says here when I enter string as the email and string as a password. So now it should get it. And now it says I enter implement as a password. Can I not have two elements in the objects? We should be doing something like this. test.com and as the email and 12345 as the password. Is that what we are talking about? So yeah. So the thing right now is that it goes to cy.visit. Then it says I'm on the login page. So yeah, this should be that actually. So it should be something like cy.visit, and that should be the one. So now, exactly now. So in this particular case, we can say I'm in the login page. I don't need to do that. So I'm going to refresh now. We are at the login page. Now it says I click on the login button. This implementation is remaining. So that means we're going to go to our login.js and say I click the login button, which means that we are getting the login button and kind of clicking it. So here we have the login submit button and we click it, click it, click it, click it, cy.login button.click. Then afterwards, the login feature says I should be logged in, and it is and. So we have then I should be logged in. So we're going to implement the then as well. Then I should be logged in, and this should be and. And I click on the, do we have and? No, we don't. So we gotta get and as well. And here we have this, I should be logged in. And that means that we should have the login.spec.js. That means that the URL should equal this. The URL should exactly be this, which means we have logged in. So we should be having this. Let's see. So we're trying to visit the login page now. While connected, while connecting. What happened? Did my server crash? No. Let's run this again. I now understand the problem here. So in the login.js, we are saying cy.intercept projects, then I do login page, then I do cy.login. Now this is a problem because it does everything. So when I enter the email and the password as a string as the password, that shouldn't do login. That should rather do what we are doing in the login. I'm going to take out the common thingy from here where we have plugins, no support, commands here. We do have email, password, and login submit. So we need to get this out of there. So we do something like, I'm thinking now, should we rather say login using valid credentials? When I enter, no, when I log in using email, something like this, and password, I should be logged in. So, okay, so this is a different test than what we discussed earlier, but I think that makes this easier. So when I use the email string and password string, then I should be logged in. So in this case, this should work. Yes. Now the thing is, with this said, we have to implement the other things. The login feature still has a couple of things. For example, I enter this as password. I enter, yeah, for example, this one. I'm on the login page and I entered this as the password. Click on the login button. So I need to now implement this and click on the login button. So login.js is this. is it an and, or I enter this password as the password, and what we do there is we say password dot type password, and I enter as the email address, type email. So this is how it should be, and this is how this one should be. When I enter ahsan@test.com as the email, click on the login button, I should see the email required error. So this one is going to be, then I should see the email required error, which means that I would have something like email error, be visible, email is required, and then also then I should see the password required error, and this, and I let GitHub Copilot do the magic. All right, let's do this, and try to see if this works. Undefinite. Oh, yeah. It's not going to be that. It's going to be string, 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 this. And now let's see. Yay, got all the errors covered. Cool. Awesome. So do we need anything else in this one? I think we can now remove the spec.js files, because now we have a clear situation of how this might turn out. All right, I'm going to run the tests, all the tests now, just to make sure that we are running everything. So run 2 integration tests. There we go. So we see all of the errors. We've got all of the tests. Super cool. I'm going to just comment this and show you one last thing. Let's see. So here we also have one more thing, that is running these tests, right? So if I needed to run this test, first of all, I'm going to commit the code just to make sure we are not missing anything. So we are going to say, all right, so git status, git add, git commit, m, or we could say gitmoji, c. What we did is that we migrated from regular Cypress tests to Cypress to Cucumber, right? And then we're going to push this, and then we need to just run Cypress or npm run, what is it called? E2E package.json. It's test E2E. So test E2E, and let's see what happens now. So previously we were running the Cypress open command. Now we are running the Cypress run command, and that essentially runs the tests until your server is accessible before running tests. All right, so the server is not running. Let's run the server, and now we can run the test as well. So we need to run the server before we can run the test. That is the key here. All right, so it's running the test now. It's running the app.feature now. And as you can see, it found 2 files. And you can see that we have the test GitHub project. We got the user email, and we got some test results as well. Now, one of the really cool things about this is that you see here, we got Cypress videos, which means that if your tests are failing for any reason, what you could do is you could send these videos to the developers or to the project manager, whatever, and then you can see these videos in real time on how how everything happened. For example, you see here it runs the test, it also saves the videos and whatnot. And if you look into the Cypress configuration, you will also find out that there is sort of a configuration which allows you to potentially record the videos only when everything or when something is failing. So right now everything is good. We probably don't need to create those videos, but still it is creating by default. But we can turn that off and just say, hey, just run the videos on failures. And that should be good enough, right? So I'm gonna delete this, move to recycle bin. We don't really need that. And I think that's pretty much it for what we were discussing. So now we know how to create tests using Cypress, but also how to have this via Cucumber Cypress or Cucumber, because the benefit of this one is that you can now have your QAs writing these test files, which is these integration or these feature files, because they are super easy to write. And when they do, you can take it from them and then implement the code accordingly per your knowledge. They don't have to worry about how the code works. They only need to understand this sort of syntax, right? And once you get the initial set of requirements from them, you can definitely change that based on how you understand the implementation would be. For example, they could say something like, hey, I want to see my GitHub projects, but you are like, hey, no, I should write a test where I see a number of GitHub projects. So that should be the case. And then you have that on your mock data as well. So you can provide it just like this. And then in the file, in the code, you write it accordingly and find out the data accordingly as well. So I hope this makes sense. Alright, so I hope you liked the video. If you did, press the thumbs up button, subscribe to get notifications about the next videos because I have a lot of them coming, and share this video with others because these things, no one usually teaches all of them in the way I do, I think. So write in the comment how you felt about this video. Let me know what else I should be talking about or creating videos about. And as always, happy coding. I'm going to see you in the next one.